I have noticed that a lot of cons are not picking their local artists.
I've heard this rumor too.
They know we're just gonna nab up the scraps. They know like we want it.
Personally, I think that's scummy. I know some like showrunners watch this, so if that's you, scummy. We are actually in the middle of a move, so the next couple videos will be podcast style. If you're wondering why everything is podcast style, it's because we pre-recorded them here in this apartment. We've worked really hard on them, on making sure to get really interesting and knowledgeable guests. And when we return, we'll have a whole new big studio, new setup. I'm not sure what it looks like yet, but I'm very excited for it.
Actually, my Etsy got banned, so.
Have you ever kicked anybody out?
Where is the line?
I think we have a difference of an opinion.
Not sharing your manufacturer is not gatekeeping.
We're going to get canceled today. We are joined by a special guest today, Superlens, who is a veteran convention artist. Oh yeah, welcome to Hot Takes. So I made a list of things that people don't always agree with me with.
This is a personal opinion. This is not like an objective, like...
I get you, I got you.
I am not a fan of art trades.
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot of discourse over that. Not so much anymore. It's the beef with art trades.
I think art trades put a lot of people in a very uncomfortable position a lot of the time. I think if you want to do art trade with their friends and stuff, like that's fine. Like do it. Like, cause you guys are close enough to understand like, you know, what you like about their stuff, what you don't. But I think a lot of times, sometimes people will come up to you and be like, are you open to art trade? And then now you're put into a position whether you want to say yes or no. But they seem so hopeful. You don't want to say no. So you're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm open to it. And they'll be like, great. And they start looking at your stuff and they start picking out what they want. And they'll be like, And then they'll be like, I want this. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And they'll be like, come look at my booth now. You go to their booth and you don't see anything that you want from them. But if you tell them, I'm good...
It's rough.
You see what I mean? Like, they might take it a little bit personally, like, oh, you don't like my art, you know? Like I said, it just kind of creates a lot of, like, uncomfortable situations.
So how do you handle it?
I just tell them, no, I don't do art.
Damn, savage.
I just don't do art trades. Like, and not just me, I have seen, like, my friends being put in a position where they're asked for art trade, and they do say yes, and usually they'll be like, oh, I'll be back. I'm gonna go look and see what they have. And they'll come back and they'll be like, I'll be like, what'd you get from the art trade? They're like, oh, I got this. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that you like that. And like, I don't.
Oh no.
I don't. I'm like, oh no. And then usually a lot of times, I think usually people are better about this, but sometimes people are not really good about it, but they'll tend to choose a higher price item from you, and then...
I was gonna say, so... Like, I make a lot of products.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so hard when someone pick a product and all they sell is prints or stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my rule, is that I'm paper products only, is what I tell them. I was like, I always say yes, no matter what, just to not try to offend somebody.
Yeah.
But I'll say paper products only.
I just tell them no.
I feel like I'll make a bad impression. And I've also noticed that, like, younger artists do it sometimes because they want you to look at their work more than anything.
That's true.
And for me, I've decided to always say yes to support those artists.
I share that sentiment because, like, I think with art trades overall, if I want something from you, I'd rather use my money to buy that product from them. I'd rather just support them financially than to do a trade personally.
What do you think of Proxies?
Proxies. I have sent proxies myself.
Same.
Yes.
My view on it is different than what I do. I will say that.
I think I'm guilty and in the same boat as you.
I'm okay with Proxies being, like, banned completely in the artist alley. I have no problem with that. I get the logic there. Yeah. But shows need to enforce it. And I don't think they're doing a very good job of it. And then also, if a show doesn't ban Proxies, like... At the end of the day, I'm a business.
Right.
And it's a lot cheaper sometimes for me to send somebody else, especially if it's not necessarily like a higher end show. Yeah. Obviously, the customer experience is better when the artist is there. But like, as an artist, I want to be home painting. If I'm at a convention, like I love meeting people who are excited with my work, but I'm not doing the thing that I want to do because, you know, for the art. So like every show I do takes away from the art, and that's just like the reality of it.
Yeah, I feel that. I did have this one instance where I did send proxies out to multiple different shows before. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of work to send to multiple people. And I think there are exceptions to be made, like family emergencies or like, you know, just emergencies.
But that's what everybody always
I know,
says.
that's what everything always
That's the
says.
problem.
I know. But you know what? I think depending which cons, I think are getting stricter about proxies though. Like I know, like for example, like Fanime and MomoCon.
Oh, they cross-check now.
Do.
They're like frenemies. It's so weird.
They are. Like I have a friend who got into both shows, and they chose to go to one of the shows, and the other one they had the intention of like, oh, asking a friend to like, you know, maybe sell half their stuff, and you know, but then one of the cons emailed back my friend and was like, hey, so we noticed your name is on their shows and our show also. What is that about? So yeah, I think a lot of cons are starting to like cross-check that now.
There's another rule that I'm starting to see pop up where even if you are not allowed to proxy at another show, like even if you're present at their show, they're like, this is the only event you're at exclusively that weekend.
Yeah.
I had a friend, I think it was Anime Boston implemented this, got in trouble. I don't think they even knew, but they were physically at Anime Boston because there's no proxies allowed. But the other show did allow proxies, but it's against AB's rule. That's a new one.
Yeah, that one.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, because like if the other con allows proxies, but you're present at the other one that doesn't allow proxy, I don't really see what the problem is. Because you're still following the rules, you know? Like, you are present, you are there, you know?
What do you think about the other comment I get a lot is it's unfair to, like, newer artists who could have had that spot? Because there's a lot of different trains of thought that could go into, like, Artist Alley versus exhibitors versus like opportunities for new artists.
Sentiment. And I think that's why I was saying like that's why if you do want to send someone, you should go to exhibitors. If you like have a medical problem that you are that you're put into a position where you have to someone, do exhibitors, you know? So I think that's probably the best way, I would say, you know, and that way newer artists could also get that chance to be present and be there, and that you're not taking away that opportunity from them. Yeah.
Here's my argument against it though.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, exhibitors is like businesses, you can send an employee, like it's the pay to win, whatever, like you're guaranteed the spot. Makes sense. Okay, I'm fine with that. Artist Alleys is, you know, normally a cheaper table. Yeah. It's not as gate kept, but I feel like that's changing. Like Artist Alley is getting so expensive, so like they're treating artists like a business and not like this place to be for the convention. And it's like, if you're gonna treat me like a business, then like I'm gonna send a proxy, right? Or I'm gonna want to, right? Also, like what newer artists can pay for like $700 tables? Like it's almost like a disservice to let like some high schooler in who like has no experience. So I think the issue almost is the way that like prices are revolving around Artist Alley. When they used to be $200 tables, it made more sense. Like, yes, that's a cool opportunity for a new artist. When it's a $700 table, you're either a business that knows you're going to make that money back, or you're taking a risk, right? So then like the sentiment of like what section is for what gets a bit blurry.
I do feel that. Yeah, no, I feel that 100%. Because it's kind of like cons are putting us into a position where we have to treat it like a business with such crazy costs. Like AX, I remember before COVID, it was like $400. Now it's almost $1,000. And I think that's just kind of insane. And there's a lot of people who want to be a part of that, you know? But it's such a tricky like topic to talk about, actually. Because where is the line? Like between it being at this point an artist booth versus exhibitor, what is the difference other than it being like artist made?
I think the goals need to be clear for like the lines are just too blurry. I also, there's this con that I love but has annoyed me this year. So it's Anime Boston, which I love, is a great show, but their normal table, which is lottery, was like $300, which is, you're gonna make bank. It's great. Like everybody's gonna make their money back. Most likely. But then the pro row, which is feet larger table. It's like a 6 foot to an 8 foot. So not much more space. Right. But it's juried in. Was like a $900 table. So for 2 more feet, it was triple the price.
Not including your badge.
Not including
which
your
is
badge.
going to be $110. If you have a helper, that's another $110.
Yeah. So I complained about this publicly. I still said good things about the show because it's a great show. But I was like, you're paying triple for them to look at your portfolio. And I was like, where's the value here?
Right.
This year, instead of evening it out, the 6 foot table is now $700. So it more than doubled in a year. But the table's lottery. So like the sentiment, like, why do you have a lottery table if it's not to ensure that like newer artists have an opportunity?
Right.
Like the only other logic there is like laziness of not wanting to look through applications.
Going off of that topic, I think one of the things on my note was I personally feel that all Artist Alley should be juried personally. I understand the sentiment behind saying how lottery gives newer artists a chance. But you could also be new and good at what you do.
Sure.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Having a curated Artist Alley is more prevalent than ever. There's AI stuff out there. We see it. There's been a lot of cons where they say they do jury, and you still see them in an Artist Alley. Yeah. So I do think that it's more prevalent than ever for it to be juried. I don't think it necessarily takes away the opportunity from newer artists. I mean, heck, there's like other opportunities for new artists. There's local cons. You could do local shows. There's like your local college. They always have that. There's so many other opportunity. That one con you want to get to, like, that's not the only one, So I think everybody could always like make their way up there.
I agree. Yeah. I would want to see a 3-tiered system at the larger shows where like there's 3 different processes. Yeah. I think Dokumi is the only one that does anything near this. 1/3 of the artists is completely juried, and that's like going to be your professional artists, the very curated ones. Yeah. 1/3 of them can be lottery, but it's going to be an auto denial the following year. So Lightbox Expo does something like this, where you cannot get in on lottery multiple times, and that kills the nepotism, which is what I see a lot with lottery shows. It's just like the staff's favorite people. That'll be where like the newer artists can get in, and cheaper tables. And then 1/3 that caters more to locals, whatever that means for the show. Like if it's a big show, maybe it's statewide, maybe it's countrywide, if it's like Europe or something. If we're talking about like fairness, that has to be in the conversation.
Going off of that, how do you feel about grandfather system?
Bullshit. I know a lot of people were really sad when the veteran status got like taken away for AIX specifically, but like I don't want to see the same artists at every show. Right.
I think grandfather should be a thing.
Ooh, okay.
But I think there are some like things that could be refined about that grandfather system in particular. So for those who don't know what grandfather system is basically getting a rebook for like the following year to get the same show again. So like Anime Expo, they used to have a grandfather system. So if you got in 1 year, you're set. You're good. You're allowed to rebook the.
It was nice.
Year. It was nice while it lasted. There are also cons that like there's one that I went to recently where they have a grandfather system. However, the grandfather system is 100%. So there's no chance for you to even get into the con at all. Yeah. So I do think grandfather system should be a thing. But I think there should be like a guideline to how to get that.
This is more like exhibitor halls do this a lot.
Yes, exhibitors do this a lot. I do think that if you were to do Artist Alley, I think there are some requirements that you need to meet in order to get a grandfather system. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't think a grandfather system should be just given out. It should be something that you work like towards. So kind of how like back at AX, if you get like if you do 10 years to get like a veteran status and stuff like that. So I actually think that's actually a really good system where if you are a convention artist and you are in good standing, then you should be allowed to partake in their, let's say, grandfather system. But I think there's also a limit to how many times you could be grandfather. So let's say you do hit that status. I think that maybe you're allowed to rebook for like 2 years, let's say. But then the year after, you reset. You have to work towards that and hope that you get into the to the system again. So I think that there should be a system implemented. It can't just be like a free ticket for everyone. You know, you have to work
the whole hall.
Exactly, and then that way you still make room for newer artists. You still get fresh face, but you can also get some of the returning favorite artists from like the community. So you get like kind of the best of both worlds. If it works out perfectly, then I think it would be the most ideal case. But I don't know. I'm not like a con organizer.
I wouldn't mind that. I would want like something like that on like a rotating biannual year to ensure that the hall is fresh and different every year, and to know that like I'm guaranteed this for like, or know that I'm not getting something. Also, it's helpful.
Obviously, it kind of needs some brainstorming to kind of like make it work. But I do think like, grandfather system should be a thing.
What do you think about, I mentioned this briefly, but I wanted to circle back about like locals being favored in the process.
I think it's a good idea.
I mean, it feels bad when you don't get into your local show. I think I would like it to be a section or like a percentage of the hall. Yeah. And then it's like you still have to like apply against your other locals.
Because think about it. It's kind of fun. Like, hey, like it's if I go to this con, like, cool, I get to meet my local Californian artists, you know, or be like, if I go to New York, I get to meet like my local New York artists, you know. It's like making the travel I guess it's more like adding another objective to like the attendees, like going, because I know some people would go to shows just for the artists, but I think it's like a different, like, it's a different perspective, you know, to going to their hometown just so that you can see that artist. Like, it makes sense. Like, if there's an artist I like to see and they're from Singapore, I would go there. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so weird, like, if I was to travel to, like, Texas and do with a big con there, and then nobody in the hall is from Texas.
Yeah,
it's so weird. Yeah. I noticed that with, like, some of the New York cons. Not saying any names.
You know, I have noticed this trend with a lot of cons recently, also not saying any names. I have noticed that a lot of cons are not picking their local artists.
I've heard this rumor too.
At this point, I'm able to count in my hands how many cons I have observed doing this.
Where they specifically save them for the wait list because they think that they'll show up.
Because they know we're just gonna nab up the scraps. They know like we want it. You know?
Personally, I think that's scummy. I know some like showrunners watch this, so if that's you, scummy.
I have another hot take.
Okay.
But this is like a really small one.
Okay.
I think tripods should be banned.
Like all these.
Like the one with the 3.
Oh, like with the prints in the back.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think they should be banned. Unfortunately, my encounter with them has been more negative than positive because people who are not artists may not know this, but usually our space is just our table and then chairs. Like, that's usually our space, right? And we're supposed to respect that space and just keep everything within, like, our area. I feel like if they think that the long part of, I guess, the stand is in their space, I feel like they think they're fine. But then their legs are, like, crossing over. Like, I'm trying to push my leg back, and then it gets hooked onto the tripods. And then there's a chance that I might accidentally, like, push too hard, and then the whole setup collapse. And then I will feel responsible for, like, messing up their setup and all that. And or sometimes I have seen artists where they use their tripods and they push it all the way to the back to the point where it's interfering with the people behind them, like their space. Yeah. So when I say it should be banned, it's more coming from a place where I feel like I've done this for like conventions for many years now, and unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of lack of consideration.
Do you not care about the ones that don't have the tripods but are still behind the table?
I think those are fine. Usually people
like
are
heavy-weighted ones.
Yeah. I actually use those myself too. I have used the tripods also, and I also don't like it because I can also see how it could be a little hard to like keep it in your space because of the legs, you know. But I have also used a heavy duty one. So, and that's why I say tripods should be banned, because I'm like, there's other tools for you to use for your setup. There's other ways to display your print, and it doesn't have to be that.
I do have a tripod setup, but I designed it with wings specifically so that the tripods were not near my neighbors, that the wings coming out were. But it's still, like, I trip on it sometimes, so, and I know it's there.
Next up. Hang on, I got something on my list.
I know Sang's got a big one. I know you wanted to talk about manufacturers.
I think not sharing your manufacturer is not gatekeeping. If I can find this information, so can anyone else.
I'm 100% with you.
I agree. it's weird being like a public figure that gives away resources. Because like that's half the people who come to my table are just looking for resources, and it's like, I don't want to be a dick.
I feel like with printing and like paper product, I don't mind sharing. Like those are fine. But if it's specialty product, like specialty like design, customization, if I spend the time doing the research, spend the money to make the sample, those are expensive. It's a lot of time. I don't think anyone should feel entitled to that information. Like, if you choose to share, that's fine.
Right.
But I feel like when people come up at a booth without like a relationship or anything and like ask for that information, it just kind of put me in a weird position.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel that because, I mean, at the end of the day, you are not responsible for the growth of someone else's business. Everybody's business is up to their responsibility to do their research. There's Google. There's so much resources. You could literally type on Amazon, look up Artist Alley setup, and they actually have a whole list made just for you, you know? If you want to print something, you type in local print shop, local this, local that. You're going to find what you're looking for, you know? So it's not hard to do your own like research. And I know you say like not sharing your menu is like not gatekeeping, and that I agree. And I also think that in the general sense, like gatekeeping should be allowed and is okay, and you should not be witch hunted for it. Nobody owes you that information. You know, you're not obligated to have that information. If you want it, go get it.
It's like a skill people do not want to like train to like
It's not hard
source.
to be like,
I don't know.
how to make this, how to make charms, how to make pins, how to like design your own apparel, how to get into Artist Alley. It's not hard. It just takes a Google like search. You know, it's funny that you say about like how it's like really expensive just to like get something produced and stuff, because I understand, because there was this menu that I personally used to use, and I love them. They were so cheap. They made good quality. They were so fast on response. It was fantastic. And then I guess for me, I like seeing the people around me succeed also. So I was more than happy to share. But the thing is, if you share something, those people will also share. So it just continues to kind of spread, you know? And I remember at that point, that menu got so popular because everybody's vouching for them. Because like, this menu is great, you know, this. And then next thing you know, they up their prices. And sometimes to get a response from them, you would have to wait 2 weeks. Before, I would get like a response like on the same day. But at one point, like I remember messaging them like, hey, I want to put in an order. And they didn't reply. And I'll be like, hey, I just want to follow up. They're like, oh, yeah, we got it. We'll ship it out in like a week or two. So yes, there was a true like witness to like how their performance have changed, you know.
I think I definitely agree. As somebody who has been extremely open with my manufacturers, I run a resource channel. People, you can come up to me and ask me. It's fine. It's already public. Like what I use. Almost every single product I've done, I've changed manufacturers at least one or twice because either prices went up or quality went down.
Honestly, I think for people who are watching this, they might probably still strongly disagree with our stance on this. But for people who are saying this, like you and me, we come from a place that have had experience like this, and unfortunately they're not like a positive experience when we do choose to share. You know, you won't know until you experience it yourself, kind of thing.
How long have you been doing conventions?
Oh man, I think I first started when I was in college. There was an esports event, but it was one of those things where like I did it once a year until I graduated from college. Then I did it full time, and I still did it once a year. And then COVID happened. So if we were to talk about full time doing it, I would say, oh my God, I think it's been like 4 years now.
So like right after COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
The moment like COVID was like, I think we're a little okay, it's not to wear a mask, but that's when I first like started doing it full time.
I went full time, and I had been doing cons for a long time, like 1 or 2 a year, kind of like you. And I went full time in 2019 and then invested in a ton of merch. And then ECC, which was the show, the first major show, which was my next show, got canceled because of COVID. And I was like, all my credit cards were like maxed out for merch. It was like such a rough start.
I had a similar story, not like that though, but I've been going to Anime Expo as an attendee since I was a kid. Like I have pictures of me taking pictures of cosplayers as a kid. And then I really wanted to table at AX. because it's been our childhood dream at that point. So I applied for a table every year while I was in college, and it was back then, it was a first come first serve, different system compared to now. Okay, it was first come first serve, and I could never get it because I would go to like my school's bathroom toilet, and I'd like try to apply to get out of class, and it doesn't work, you know. But I remember specifically a year before COVID, I took the day off from work because I have an Ethernet cable at my house, so I applied it from my computer, and it worked. I got a table. I was so excited. And then, lo and behold, the lockdown happened for my 2020 show.
Wait, did they roll those over?
They did, but I applied in like 2019 for the 2020 show, so I had to wait until like 2022
Oh my god.
for it to happen.
At least you had the table. Like,
Did, but I had to wait like a few years for that dream. That was like put on hold for a while.
Talk about your Etsy hot take.
Etsy.
I'm really conflicted with Etsy. I know a lot of people are leaving for a good reason, and they're trying to open up their own stores. But as like a convention artist, I think I've been viewing it a bit differently. So like the percentage Etsy takes is like 14% after their like hidden fees or whatever, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And there are sites that are cheaper. When you like do the math on like booth prices sometimes, what is $1,000 booth? Like you have to make 10 grand for them to take just 10%. If you do less than that, they're taking more than that. So like the profit for Etsy is still higher.
Well, it's not just the booth, because you need like hotel, you
It's
need
all the travel.
parking, you need gas, you need parking.
That's fee of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know where you're getting at, and I think on this point, I think I'm probably in the same boat as you. Probably.
I just think like we need to look at fees the same way we look at Etsy, because Etsy's extremely criticized for that level of fees, which I think is rightfully so. But like $1,000 booth, there you can like showrunners cannot expect the average artist to pull in 10 grand, and that's just being at the same level of fee as Etsy. I know a lot of people don't like Etsy because of the drop shipping. There's like now AI stuff there, and like these are all real criticisms. I think like if you have the energy to make your own website, like you know you'll spend less, or like the fee will be less, and I think that's the route you should go. For me, because Etsy handles international sales and I have a decent international artist or like audience, it's just not worth it for me to be running two shops, because I need Etsy for the international audience, because I can't, like, I'm not going to deal with all that. So for me, it's worth it to stay on Etsy for all of that stuff and take that 14% or like whatever the fee is now.
Doesn't mean we're supporting all their decisions.
No. I wish there was an alternative, but I don't think that there is. One of the biggest benefits of a website like Etsy is that there was like a natural marketplace where people would search and find stuff. But because of all this AI and drop shipping, like that's no longer the case. So most of the traffic you get is from yourself, which means it's no longer like new artist friendly, at least not to the extent it was. The only reason I bring it up is from the comparison for like Artist Alley fees getting absolutely outrageous.
I agree with that actually 100%. And like you said, like I know a lot of people are like, don't do Etsy because the fees, this and that, and obviously the AI and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people are doing consignments these days. So for those that don't know what consignment is basically there's a shop, like gift shop of a sort, to put in a general term. You could rent a space and it may cost like a couple $100 to quite a bit, depending how big or how much space you need. So a lot of the consignment store, not only do you have to pay that rental space, they usually take a cut. Usually the cut is like 20 to 30% of whatever your item is. And if you kind of do the math on that, Etsy's fee kind of pales in comparison. So if you really kind of like figure out the numbers, it's like, it's not too bad. If I were to say, and again, this is like if I were to go a few years back, I would say Etsy is definitely worth doing then. I think the scenery has changed a lot. I don't know what it is now because actually my Etsy got banned. So
wait, how did your Etsy get banned? Wait a second.
Okay, it's rightfully so, because I mean, you know, with like fan art, I think like fan art in Artist Alley is a gray area. It's a lot of companies turning a blind eye. But if you kind of like blatantly advertise your stuff as fan art online, they will usually go after you. So I actually got a lot of cease and desist from like companies. They'll be like, that's not allowed. That character, that belongs to our IP. This like, so I think I got too many of them. I tried renaming them, okay? I tried to do that method where you like rename them into something else. That didn't work. They still got me anyway, so.
I have seen that's why a lot of fan artists want their own website, but I do know a couple people who have gotten their websites taken down because those cease and desist can still contact the website hosts and bring it out. So you're not 100%, like it's harder for them to find, certainly, but if they do find it, your whole website can get taken down. I know people it's happened to.
Right, and it's obviously nobody else to blame but myself because I already knew the risk going in. It's just I decided to do it anyway. So
I think we have a difference of an opinion in stamp rallies.
It's funny you say that because I literally have stamp rallies in my notes also.
Oh, okay, great, perfect.
Okay, you know what? I want to hear what your opinion is.
For me, it feels like somebody's trying to sell me something. Like if I go to an artist alley table and I've picked out the thing I want and I buy it, like we've already determined that I like their work. I'm buying something, and then they pitch a stamp rally to me. It feels like they're trying to sell me something, even though I've already like supported their work, and that feels icky to me. And as like an artist, I don't like pitching in that way.
Well, from a buyer's perspective, how many stamp rallies have you participated in?
One.
Well, okay. You know, that's good because now we can talk about it even more. What is it that made you feel like this stamp rally was worth it, in your opinion? Like,
I liked all the artists, and I liked that the prize was like a unique, like it looked like there was a lot of effort into it. I actually wanted to talk to you more about it because in my perspective, I was like, wouldn't it be more profitable to just have that in your catalog like long term instead of like splitting profits with a bunch of people? It just seems like so much work went into it for like only being able to profit that one weekend.
all very valid points, because sometimes I do find myself questioning, like, shouldn't I just work on my own stuff instead? Like, I've had that experience like quite a bit like that. I see Stamp Rally as more of the marketing aspect. And a lot of marketing, I think people that are most commonly done is just posting on social media, right? But I think there is the physical aspect of like, I feel like Stamp Rally is just more like a modern day way of doing flyers.
Interesting.
I think it could work both ways, because I could also see how it could get a little overbearing, because I have been in the perspective of like a buyer, and I have artists going like, you want to do the Stamp Rally? You want to do the Stamp Rally? But I'm like, I'm just trying to buy this like this Pikachu thing.
So how do you know when to pitch like one of your Stamp Rally?
If they're purchasing a item of the Stamp Rally's theme that I'm doing.
I see.
Yes, because I think that, because if you try to pitch someone that has nothing relevant to them, it's just annoying. It's like, I don't want that. What am I, like, I want a Pokemon card. I don't want a Yu-Gi-Oh card, you know? So if someone's trying to shove that, it doesn't make sense.
I think maybe that's the factor that the Stamp Rallies I've participated in might have been missing, because I don't do a lot of fan art, or at least the Stamp Rallies I've participated in have been like very original OC focused. Right. And then it's like, who do you pitch that to? And it felt like I was supposed to pitch it to everybody, but it didn't feel great.
It won't work like that usually. And I think that's why it's really important that not just you as someone who's joining Stamp Rally as an artist, but as someone who's also hosting, is to making sure that Stamp Rally is curated properly. I've had experience of where I remember at one point I was like, hey, I'm hosting this Stamp Rally. Whoever wants to, please join. And then let's say I'm doing a Pokemon Stamp Rally. I think I'll just do a very like vague check on them. And sometimes they'll be like, I have this one Pikachu charm. But from the attendees' point of view, if they want the prize, they're kind of forced to buy that charm because they only want Pokemon, but it may not be their favorite Pokemon or whatever. So you want to make sure that when you are in a curated Stamp Rally, that these artists have a lot of options for attendee to choose from, so that it doesn't feel like they're being forced to participate. And I guess another way of looking at Stamp Rally is that it's a word of referral. It kind of helps narrow that search for the people, like the attendee. They don't have to be like, oh, maybe this table have Pokemon. Oh my God, it's like option paralysis, you know? Yeah. But when you give them a Stamp Rally, it kind of helps them formulate like, oh, cool, I just need to visit these 8 artists or 6 artists that have Pokemon. That helps. Now I don't feel as overwhelmed because I know for sure these have the table number. It tells me exactly where I need to go and where I'm going to find what I want from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Stamp Rallies I've done have been like who's participating forward instead of like prize forward. And it's great when you have like every participant is like really good or whatever, but it's like if you're going to buy from them, you're going to buy from them anyways. In some cases. what I'm getting is like you need to have a good prize and it needs to be themed so you're not pitching to every single person.
And I think it's important who the participating artists are.
So all factors. So you can't skip a factor.
Skip a factor if you want a good rally to be successful.
Do you ever feel like there's a weak link though sometimes?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Or like just not a good fit. Let's say not a good fit.
Yes, not a good fit. Yes, I have observed that. But usually you don't know. Obviously, you don't know until you start working with them. But I do find that the ones that are not the best fit are usually the ones who don't communicate. If a person can't even do something as simple as to just react, I think that's usually kind of telling of how the stamp rally is going to be on their end.
Have you ever kicked anybody out after like halfway through the process?
No, but the thought has crossed my mind before. Okay. And I guess it goes back to like the not communicating part because it's kind of like, hello, like, are you there? Like, if you're not, then you're practically not in this rally.
You know when I want to be in a stamp rally?
Yeah.
When I have a bad spot in the hall. That's when I want to join your stamp
rallies are so helpful when that happens, like being in a bad spot.
Yeah, hit me up, please. yeah. I'll let you know. I'll message you. I'll be like, I got an awful spot. Please help. Please.
It really, really helps when you're in a bad spot.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you coming and getting canceled with me. But yeah, like and subscribe or whatever. Okay, bye.
So I look up at the ceiling fan. Everything feels lighter staring at the ceiling fan. So I look up.
You know, I had a couple commission ones where the girlfriend was commissioning for them as like a portrait of them together.
Yeah.
And then like a week later or something, she was like, hey, I gave him the piece, but like, he broke up with me. Can I get a refund? And I was like, oh my god.
Why'd you say that?
I was just like, I mean, I did the art, like, it was for his birthday or something.
Yikes.
But like, I don't know, if like that was the cost or something. Like, he saw the gift and he's like, oh, it's a commitment. I don't know if I want this commitment or something.